10,000 of them themselves. Obviously, it does take some time for them to be able to then use that trunk and figure out how it all works, you know. Of course, the trunk being the adaptation really of the nasal cavity and top lip of the elephant. And we're talking about baby elephants or calves. When they are born, they are around 90 odd kgs, around 3 feet or so in height. And that, of course, when being born after a 22-month gestation period. But yeah, it does take about 6 to 8 months for them to really start to be able to use those trunks, and of course then getting better and better from there. Lots to learn and figure out. Of course, quite cool how it does all then unfold.
Wild Earth's mission is an expensive one, but we know that our live experience is important to so many people that cannot afford to pay for it. We have added a donate button to our website. By donating, you are directly helping us share our free nature experiences with the world. We want Wild Earth to reach children, budding conservationists, and the less fortunate. A little money goes a long way. You can make a difference to someone today.
So Gemsbok has made its way down and wading into the waterhole as expected. A couple of springboks still about. Ellie's thoroughly enjoying a quiet moment. One here, legs crossed. And a couple of zebra also just making their presence known for us at the moment. So awesome just to sit back and enjoy them. Just watch as they all go about morning life here. Hi Juan, yes, that's very possible. The eddies will kind of move off, and of course then heightened testosterone when they are in must, and more than likely one moving off or peeling away, and then probably trying to pick up on any females that may be in estrus in that area. So not uncommon to find Elie bulls solitary or by themselves, and in particular when they are in must. Of course, highly irritable when they are in that kind of must mode or state of being. And also not uncommon to see Elie bulls solitary when they aren't even in must either. It really does come down to that personality and that Elie itself. But, not uncommon, and probably more likely that we will see them more solitary when they are in deep must. So these three Elies definitely looking to enjoy a little bit of a break. A couple of telltale signs. Didn't really touch on the one being that they will use their tusks as kind of weight-bearing almost structures for those trunks of theirs. They don't have to hang down. Of course, we do also notice when they are resting that their trunks kind of hang very loosely and kind of hang around near the ground. Of course, being near water, that wouldn't be the case. Perhaps that is also why they want to use their tusks at the moment. And you'll notice one or two of them also with crossed legs. So kind of taking weight off on another side while they take a little bit of a rest. But nothing too deep or serious in terms of that right now. But just peaceful little moments for them. So always quite cool. A little bit of a dust bath going on now with the Elies, but it's time for us also to check in with Nick and see what's going on in Kariega.
Okay, we're still here on the southern side of the clearings. This is the place of where it's happening. This is the rendezvous point for everybody. And there is a little bit of blue sky that is trying to break out in the skyline here. Trying to part the clouds. So the sun is definitely making a little bit of an appearance. The wind is still pretty strong though. And I can hear there are a few white-necked ravens calling in the direction of these buffalo. Just having a look, because we sometimes do see those ravens sitting on some of the buffaloes. Can't see any for the moment, but I can hear them calling down there. And I did actually hear a dark-backed weaver calling in the thickets behind those buffalo, which has got that very electronic, almost like retro type of call. It's quite a cool type of call. Haven't heard one here for a while, so it's definitely very nice to see. And remember that dark back weaver, like the name suggests, does have a dark back, and it's got that beautiful bright yellow colored chest. Really enjoys the thicker environment, so you won't really see that weaver flying out in the open here or flying towards Scotia Dam. It loves the much denser types of environments. And remember, when you go and do a little bit of forest birding, it can become a little difficult because it is so thick and dense. Your knowledge of bird calls needs to be really good. You know, if you're not so sharp on your bird calls, it's going to be very hard to try and, you know, if you're keeping a list, to try and pick up the numbers on that list. Think of a bird like a Narina trogon. You know, we hear Narina trogons here quite often as well, but to see them is difficult. You know, they're so well camouflaged with the environment they move around in. Similar environment to that dark-back weaver. Now buffaloes have really done a little bit of a circle. It's been quite interesting. So this is the area where we're looking at them now, where they kind of started the morning off. And then they kind of moved towards Scotia Dam, and I thought maybe I might loop around there to see if they do head to the water. But they then kind of did a little bit of a 180 and have come back here. So potentially as they started to head towards Scotia Dam, heading to the more sort of open areas, the wind started to pick up there, started to move through the area a lot more than where they are now. So maybe the pathfinder decided, no, let's turn back, head to a slightly more sheltered area, slightly more sheltered section. And you can see in the foreground we've got some Inyala bulls there. And interestingly, there's actually a few barn swallows that are flying around, which is, you know, quite surprising, given that it is quite windy. You wouldn't think such a small bird would be flying around so much. In terms of the number of pathfinders in the herd, you know, there'll be a sort of a dominant one, but you can get 2 or 3 females that will be helping to make decisions. It could be classified as pathfinders as well. But when you do look at the herd, you can usually kind of determine a specific individual who will be determining movement and things like that, making the big decisions. But you can get 1 or 2 others. You know, it's also very dependent upon the size of the herd. You know, if it is a smaller herd, you wouldn't need 10 pathfinders, you know. But remember, with some of your bigger herds of, you know, 500 individuals or so, which you often find in winter when, you know, the conditions become tougher, so a lot of your different herds join and pull together to, you know, really pull those resources, those knowledge from all of the different pathfinders together. In a herd of sort of 500, you could expect to find maybe a few more pathfinders than what you'd find in a herd of 30 or 40, which is obviously quite understandable. I still think one of my favorite things is if you do have a big herd of, you know, 500-600 buffalo, and you can see them wanting to head to a waterhole, and heading towards one that you are aware of. It's always amazing to try and loop in front of them and go and wait at that waterhole. You know, to see them coming from a far sort of ridge line or something like that, often starting in single file, and as they're getting closer, kind of breaking ranks and picking up the pace as they do get closer to the water. And like we said, you know, those bigger herds generally occurring during winter. So obviously with that, if they are starting to pick up the pace towards a waterhole, lots of dust being kicked up into the air as well. Really is a beautiful type of sighting. But I think for now, let's take you across to Okukuyo and see how Alex and his elephants are doing.
Thanks, Nick. And the Ellies being a little bit more active at the moment. Looks like rest is up for now. A little bit of dust bathing and a bit of splashing going on. A bit of the fresh water being used from the pump. That then obviously keeps this water hole going here and there. But Three Bulls definitely getting a little bit more active. I think having enjoyed that morning drink, perhaps slowly going to be thinking of moving away. That remains to be seen. Could very well hang around for some time, continue to rest up, and then getting into a bit of a dust bathe before heading off for some grazing or browsing. So always cool to watch Ellies as they interact, and that's exactly what you're going to be doing now. Looks like they've figured out again that this is where the fresher water is, and a bit of jostling to go on between them. Doesn't look like that's the case. They seem to be in pretty good mood. But let's just wait and see what goes on. Lovely audio coming from the Ellies at the moment. Stomach grumbles. Actually here as they draw in water through their trunk as well. So always quite cool listening to the little things that go on when animals are around us. A couple of sandgrouse still calling. Looks like this other Ellie resting his trunk on the ground. Hi Jamie, yes, very peaceful indeed. Nice just to be able to sit back and enjoy Ellies and have a little insight into their life. So always very cool to be able to sit back and enjoy elephants. It's time for us also to head on over to Cedric and see what he's found in Madikwe.
Yes, thanks. I have left those lions, the Quena Pride. Fortunately, they were heading into an area where it was pretty much close to in front of a lodge, so yeah, we could not follow on there, but we left them, hopefully maybe this afternoon. But yeah, we are sitting with a beautiful brown snake eagle. This is my first brown snake eagle here at Madikwe, and it looks like might be a juvenile. You see that little bit of that white that's on the breast at the moment there. Just a very, very slight white area, so that looks like a juvenile brown snake eagle. It's easy ways to pick up on the snake eagles. They're one of the easiest to first of all, see that posture, very much an upright posture. So most of the other eagles really kind of lean more towards like a 45-degree angle, where of course the snake eagle is almost straight up. As well, if it turns its head, it's looking straight at us now, but if it turns its head sideways, you'll find that it's got a very box-like head as well. Alright, well, we're going to continue. We're going to see if we can we'll find something else down this side. While we do that, let's head over to Alex in Okukuyu.
So back to our frolicking zebra, the wading springbok, one or two zebra also around and about. The wind having died down quite substantially, and it looks like some of the cloud cover also being burnt off. Looks like these ellies are going to hang around for some time here, so always fantastic, and that's exactly what we're going to do, is hang around, sit back, enjoy them, hopefully see something interesting with regards to their behavior. Always good just to switch off and watch ellies. Sandgrass being ever present today. And springbok also coming through in good numbers at the moment. So lovely to see that. Great to also see the grebe scooting about along the water. After a quiet moment with our ellies underway, underfoot even if you want to call it that. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. Just enjoying their presence. Our Ellies have been joined by a lone wildebeest at the moment. The sun coming through, which is rather fantastic. And a lovely time that we are having here in Okakuyo. Tosha, and you are with myself, Alex. We've just been across looking at a juvenile brown snake eagle with Cedric and Igor and Midikwe. Some fantastic other scenes going on down in Kariga with Nick. And thoroughly enjoying these 3 bull elephants that are with us at the moment. Of course, if you have joined us, this is your safari and your immersion into the African wilderness with us. So do make sure you do send through any questions or comments you may have, points of interest, things you may have noted. It is always cool when we get to touch base with you guys and hear that which you are thinking or wish to know about. Of course, if you are enjoying this live immersion into the African wilderness and you want to help Wild Earth contribute to connect humanity with nature, please do head over to our website and look at the link wildearth.tv/donate and click on the donate button, helping us to bring you these live experiences and awesome insights into the African wilderness. So these 3 bulls congregating right here where the water is pumped out of into the Okakuyo waterhole. Clearly enjoying fresh water. They did obviously go straight into the waterhole as well. Ellies definitely have a marked preference for fresh water. So clearly enjoying the bounties of that right now. So quite clearly, quite a bit of sun that has started to break through that cloud cover that was present. And quite cool just to see how bright it really has now become. The wind pretty much dead and buried at the moment. That will, of course, change at some point. But just a peaceful little interlude here on Saturday morning. Nice to have all of this congregation around us. And waiting to see who else may come through and join us. A little bit of a dust bathe going on right now. Of course, they haven't really sprayed themselves with water, so getting any of the other substrate on them, then going that kind of typical white color from all the concretes, known to be the white ghosts of Etosha when that does happen. But quite comfy, just taking the available dust that is here and getting that in every nook and cranny available to that elephant. Hi Miles, great observation there. Yes, effectively kind of loosening up that substrate. Of course, then being able to spray themselves or cover themselves with a lot more dust then after that. You also see them doing that when they knock off any dirt or any remnants of soil off of roots and that they also pick up. Kind of even using their trunks to kind of bash that off or slap it off. And then obviously engaging in the consumption of said root or tuber system that might have had dirt on it before that. So it looks like straight back to that water pump there, just enjoying themselves. Nice that they've decided to hang around for this long. Of course, they can spend up to around 18 hours a day foraging in that too, so not the longest amount of time that we do get to spend with them when they are around. Roughly 20% or so of their day that is then spent with regards to resting, sleeping, and even then spraying themselves with dust, mud, or other substrate that might be around. So it looks like attentions are starting to kind of move off and kind of start thinking about getting towards some vegetation for some grazing. And all three of them moving a little bit away from the water source for now. A little bit of dust bathing going on, but clearly quite relaxed at the moment as well. Hi, Susan. Thank you very much for your question. And from what I am aware, there has been some elephant activity around here. Yet to see any of the breeding herds that may be about. As far as I'm aware, there has been a bit of elephant action. Of course, these are the 3 that have come through for us today. Perhaps maybe 1 or 2 others later on in the course of this afternoon. Who knows? But for now, these are the 3 that are present. So interesting just to sit back and watch as the splashing games begin. 2 of the Ellies engaged right now. Just waiting to see if the third will indulge as well. But, again, it's the 3 Ellies that are dominating the space. And lovely to be able to sit back with them, see how they kind of turn those bodies of theirs into elephant Jackson Pollocks with all the splash going on. So it's always awesome having elephants here at the waterhole. Of course, getting them to start splashing and kind of covering themselves with any mud as well. So lovely to be able to just enjoy a moment with them. But it's time for us to head off to Nick and see what's going on down in Kariega.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, definitely having an enjoyable time here. So still sitting with our herd of buffalo, and it's been quite cool to see how, remember earlier we were talking about there was that splinter group that had kind of moved off from the herd of predominantly males, and there was that one single female. So they have now actually have come back to the herd and have joined up with the bigger sort of herd. So if you do see a few males kind of scattered in amongst everybody, it is because everybody has joined up together once again. So these 7 or 8 individuals that were in the other herd, kind of really, they made their way all the way from the other side of the clearing. And it, you know, I saw them from far off. And it was such like an anti-climax when they met up. You know, they kind of just looked at each other, everybody shuffled around and kind of integrated, and there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, physical contact. There weren't any bellows or anything like that. I feel like if they were paid actors, they would be fired on the job. You know, if you look at other species, you look at something like lions. You know, if a lioness has been kind of away from the herd for a while, or even the dominant male, there's always a big reunion. You know, there's a lot of head rubbing, there's lots of, you know, sounds, noises of affection and things like that. Yeah, it's a big deal. You know, the whole pride is back together. Everyone's really happy. You know, often if you think of lion cubs, of mom's been out hunting for a long time. She's finally come back, regardless of whether she's been successful or not. Those youngsters are so happy to see mom. Not so much with buffaloes. There was a single female with a youngster that kind of kept walking straight towards these males and kind of eyed everybody out. But there was no sort of physical contact, no love and affection. Everybody's still grazing quite peacefully now. So the reunion probably happened sort of 15 minutes ago or so. More of a non-event than anything else. I feel like they may continue to feed here for a little bit more. And then close to where I am parked, there are 2 different mud wallows. Even much more down in that little lower lying depression that we were talking about. And I think in terms of the rough sort of movements of the herd, I think it looks like the herd might possibly head down there after doing a bit of grazing here. So it'll be really cool if they do. You know, we'll get a nice perspective. if you were with us last night on our sunset safari, I got a really, really nice low angle of this herd of buffalo. Almost looked, I was like, ground level. It was beautiful. It almost looked like I could have potentially been out of the car, but I was not. A little bit trickier here in terms of the area of where they are. If they did have to go down to those little mud wallows, they would more than likely be a little bit lower down than where I can get to. But it is lovely just to watch them, see what they get up to. And it's been interesting to watch now. As the sun has started to make a bit of a comeback, there's been a bit of a change in the movements from a lot of the other animals. Remember earlier we saw plenty of impala, we saw zebra, we saw nyalas, we saw, can't remember whether I mentioned blesbok or not. They were all grouping very closely together. They're now starting to kind of shift off a little bit and kind of disperse. Most of them, it looks like, have gone west, so in the direction behind these buffalo. Which there are a few more sheltered sections down that side of the world. We'll just give it a bit of time and see where they do end up going down to. Very interesting because it's not like the wind is easing up at all. The wind is still very blustery here. And like we were talking about earlier, the main reason everybody came to this sort of the southern side of the slope here is to try and get out of the wind as much as possible. So with all of the wind that we've got today, not very surprising that we're not seeing a lot of rhinos. I'm sure they're going into the thickets to try and stay out of this wind. But for now, I think let's take you back to Alex and see how he's doing at Okukuyo.
Thanks, Nick. And it's just the two ellies that are left at the moment, for the moment. But quite interesting, lovely to see how that shade on their skin tone has changed, obviously being now wet and damp from spraying themselves, obviously with water, but also with the sediment that's at the bottom of this waterhole right now. Of course, we are stationary here, so we do have to just enjoy our view from here. Looks like the one eddy's moved off, as I said. This lovely wildebeest bull for now. These other two ellies still happy to hang around here at the waterhole and enjoy some peaceful moments, at least before I head off for what will most likely be a very peaceful afternoon anyway, but more focused on browsing or grazing than anything else. So having a little look around, and not much really other than we've already noted for the day. So springbok, the odd springbok taking refuge under the shade of that camel thorn. Of course, we've got the wildebeest right in front of us, and these two bull ellies that are really doing the most. So it's lovely to actually sit back and enjoy them, because sometimes they actually hang around quite quickly for a short amount of time and quite quickly then move off, looking for grazing again. So nice that these two have decided to hang around for this amount of time. Of course, drinking, a little bit of dust bathing, and a little bit of kind of mud spraying that has gone on. A couple more wildebeest coming through to join. Very cool to see. So some wildebeest have also made their way down to the water's edge. A couple of springbok, one lone zebra, although I'm sure there'll be more. And of course, our two elephant bulls. They're enjoying a little bit of time here. So a bit going on in the zebra world there, a bit of braying off in the distance, and as I thought, around 4 of them have also made their way down. Looks like another zebra off in the distance. Of course, a couple of gnu as well as the springbok that are kind of spread out on either side of the waterhole right now. Hi, Simpiwe, thank you very much for that. And it'll probably be more rare than anything else and more than likely to occur with the Asian elephants than with their African cousins here. They are generally born this rudimentary grey colour, although it's not unheard for them to have, different and lighter pigments here and there. Quite a leucistic early calf that has been born, and primarily getting darker from there. But as they are born, generally this same kind of uniform grey colour. It's far more common to see Asiatic elephants pink spots even on their trunks and their foreheads and even on their ears also being a different shape. And so the shape of India, and on our African savanna ellies that we're looking at right now, the shape of the African continent for their ears. But it's not all elephant calves that have pink ears. It would be very much an outlier. They are generally this uniform grey colour when they come out, but not unheard of for them to perhaps have a lighter pigment, perhaps the odd pink mark on an ear here and there either, but not the norm. Clearly, this one Ellie bull deciding that he still has quite a few more litres to drink. Enjoying a quiet moment here. So, as we touched on earlier, not uncommon to see Ellie bulls by themselves or solitary. And they do link up and then do move off as well. So, clearly quite happy to be by himself as well. Nice to have a little zebra harem here too. What is rather quite a calm mid-morning across here in Okukuyo. It looks like he's going to start to move off again. What we'll do is we'll just track his movement because it is always quite cool having our Ellies. He's possibly going to join up again with his two other friends. So the three amigos probably heading off into the Mopani thickets. Time for lunch. It looks like coming back again. So quite cool watching this unfold. Can't make up his mind today. And we'll just track and follow him as he comes back down. Hi Zoe, yes, it does seem like that is the case. No one being left behind right now. Although this Ellie being a bit indecisive, coming back to drink. So we'll see if those other two bulls do hang about, but I'm sure probably all three of them heading off in the same direction. The same thing on their mind, food. So some more zebra coming down. Lots of different springbok that are also around at the moment. Very cool. Nice to be able to sit back and enjoy lots of action like we have been able to. It's always amazing just to be able to sit back and just listen to the sounds of what is going on here at the waterhole, and with the amount of hooves that are around, quite clearly being able to hear the approach and kind of, there we go, the odd spook, and of course then when the animals decide to walk off as well. A little bit of a kind of a clippity clop sound that is kind of ever present because of that. A little bit of stutting and pronking also going on there by those springbok that moved through the frame there. So quite characteristic of them. And the zebra numbers seeming to be swelling at the moment. There's two little harems that are coming down to join. Lots of springbok activity right now as well. There's kind of a procession of zebra really at the moment. Lots of them just coming out of about almost every area of the tree line, the Mopani thicket line that is off the western kind of boundary of this area here. And you'll be able to notice just how many separate harems are slowly starting to make their way down as the day kind of reaches midday. And I'm sure as the heat starts to pick up. Lovely audio though from those European bee-eaters as well. Still hanging about. The sandgrouse seem to have also moved on for now. But strong numbers of zebra coming through to join one remaining bull elephant. And the other springbuck that have decided to hang around for today.
At Wild Earth, we are dedicated to bringing kids into the wild on our live, free, interactive safaris. Many of you will remember that we used to do this on a daily basis prior to the pandemic. But now, courtesy of our Wild Earth explorers, we're aiming to take schools back into nature permanently. We'd like to extend an extremely heartfelt thanks to our Wild Earth explorers who have helped us touch the lives of so many children.
So the zebra have really taken over at the moment, wading right through to the center of the Okakuya waterhole. And there's a number of them, small little pockets of them, other harems coming through to join those that have amassed here. And it does look like this is probably going to be a little theme for the next little bit. Last of the Ellie Bulls has also decided it'll be time to move on. The three of them still hanging about, so perhaps a little bit of sleeping or resting going on. It looks like one of them may also decide to come back down, get some more water. Seems that this is the case. The other two quite happy to rest, it seems. So what we will do is we will resume watching these zebra, and hopefully the elephants will come back down and join us. Good numbers of them and lots of action going on at the moment. Hi Jack, thank you very much for your question, and indeed Springbok do, and so do zebra, both of them being the two most populous of the herbivores that are here in Etosha, with both having populations that exceed 15,000 odd individuals. Also, just a point of interest, we do get the black-faced impala, which is the more arid adapted and actually endemic impala to this area and region, endemic to here up into Angola, and more arid adapted and those more common impala that we then find all the way up from Kurika through into the low veld as well. Looks like two of the Ellies have decided to come back and join us. I'm not going to complain. It's quite fantastic having them here with us anyway. But yes, the two most populous of the herbivores are with us right now, the springbok and the zebra here in Etosha. So lots going on here. Still got very healthy numbers of zebra coming through for us. And of course, these two Ellie bulls that have also come through to spend some time. The third coming back into frame as well. And of course, if you have joined us and you have seen some spectacular things or have been privy to enjoy your own special sightings that you may have recorded, Wild Earth is looking for unique, jaw-dropping, beautiful wild animal sightings and encounters, and that's from you, our viewers, and that's also to use across the different Wild Earth platforms. And in return, you can also earn money, win prizes, or see your names in the credits of those Wild Earth TV shows. So if you are interested and you do have access to good content, please do have a look on our website, click on the content creator tab and find out more information from there. So just some special scenes there. Something spooking all of the zebra, it seems. Ellie's pretty much relaxed. Doesn't look like they are too fazed by anything else going on around them. Nor should they be. Looks like a little bit of rest that is back on the cards. So Ellie's treating us to a rather spectacular morning. Awesome to just be able to kick back and enjoy them. They've come in and out of frame a number of times. Also decided to rest up, splash, and then also spray themselves with some of the dust too. And of course they've been joined by a number of zebra, springbok, some wildebeest, as well as gemsbok that have also been around today. Of course, some impala too. Really quite awesome to have them sitting here and just enjoying a moment with them. Hi Starbuck, thank you so much for your question there. And I think you're touching on the zebra, the springbok and the gemsbok that we've seen wading into the water like that. And to some degree I do think you're right with regards to them wanting to cool down. I think that is definitely one of the reasons, and the other being perhaps that the water is also less disturbed the deeper they wade in, so perhaps a bit fresher, actually probably a bit tastier than water that might have been disturbed from all the activity and silt in that then might be unsettled and throughout it. So I think a number of things, but also perhaps maybe a bit cooler in terms of the water temperature itself, deeper into the center of that water hole. But I think trying to get or access kind of clearer water as well as cooling down being the two main objectives with those that wade in. So you'll be able to notice just how relaxed those ellies are. Of course, some using the tusks to hold up or prop up those trunks. Others just allowing them to kind of hang quite easily in front of them. The one in the center drinking fresh water made available from the pump. So, still just sitting back enjoying all of our elephants, or these 3 bull elephants, with all of the elephant action that we have been privy to for the majority of this morning here in Okakuyo. Very, very awesome to be able to sit back and enjoy them. And of course, we have been in Kariga and we have been in Madikwe as well. So lots going on. A lioness in Madikwe, some lovely buffalo and Nyala and that across in Kariga. And we are currently in Okakuyo with myself, Alex, and we are escaping to nature. It really has been a fantastic escape to nature so far. And of course, if you have just joined us, Wild Earth is not yet a profitable service, and we rely on subscribers and donators to keep connecting both the young and old with nature through live safaris. And it's your live or your donations that help us to continue to go live for those who can't afford it. It also helps us to bring back some great projects like the Wild Earth Kids. And by donating, you are making a difference to the Wild Earth mission of connecting people to nature. If you have the ability, you are interested, please do head across to wildearth.tv/donate and click on the donate button to help us make sure that people can enjoy the live and fantastic wilderness of Africa and the locations we bring it to you from. It looks like a little bit of an argy-bargy though that was started between 2 of these bulls. Really quite spectacular, lovely way just to sit back and enjoy nature and the immersive nature of what we're doing right now. Really quite cool. Looks like one lone stalk at the moment, just there to the left-hand side of the ellies. It is rather warm, so you can see these ellies had sprayed themselves, and the sun kind of coming out. It is drying rather quickly on their skins. So also picking up the audio, one of my more favorite bird calls here. African mourning dove. Quite a little coo that has been going on. That other bird that's calling a Cape Crow. Two very different sounding birds indeed. Quite a bit still going on. The sandgrouse coming back into the fray. Some European bee-eaters also calling about here and there. And of course, the Cape Crows and those mourning doves that I did just touch on. But lovely just to be able to sit back and enjoy our Ellies. Something different. Nice to have them around with us at the moment. Hi Noel, thank you very much for that question. Very interesting one. Noel wanting to know if elephants ever suffer from heart attacks. And I'm going to say yes, but it would be obviously through a number of circumstances that might obviously kind of bring that about. Of course, overheating would be one of them. And perhaps, if fiddled with by vets and the rest, overheating while on their sides, or perhaps if any other procedures were being done, that could perhaps lead to cardiac arrest or heart attack perhaps on that individual. But also, kind of specialized sets of circumstances as well that could lead to that. So of course, pressure being one, and if Ellies are obviously toyed with a fair amount, they are quite grumpy. That really just being the presence of humans most often or not. That could lead to elevated heart rate, perhaps maybe the adverse effect of a heart attack then occurring from that. But things like bees really petrify Ellies, and a swarm of bees would definitely make even a herd of elephant move off. They really dislike even the sound of bees, and bees are actually used in some areas to kind of protect crops, particularly in East Africa, to protect crops from elephant that might be thinking of raiding those areas. So it's definitely something that's been used as a deterrent, and I've seen Ellie herds moving off and running off, even trumpeting when a swarm of bees has even moved over them. So perhaps with interference from human beings, perhaps hunting or poaching may be going on. If Ellie was old, perhaps even strained, maybe lack of water, that type of thing, maybe then leading to heart attacks. So very much a thing that can happen. Of course, when Ellies generally do die, it is mostly due to old age, and I'm talking about natural kind of occurrences here, and that being when that last set of molars has worn through and not being able to kind of take in adequate nutrients which they would need. So of course heart attacks and things like that obviously are kind of really that lag term effect that would then happen, but not uncommon for an elephant to suffer from a heart attack, I don't think, no. But really quite fascinating. Of course, an elephant's heart is going to be rather huge if you consider a big bull being between 6 and 8 tons at times. Of course, there's also kind of on the outlier end of the spectrum for Ellie growth. But that rather large heart can weigh up to around 30 kgs, generally maximum of being about 28 kgs. And in fact, normally around 0.5% of the animal's body weight. It also has a rather unique shape. So it's kind of got 2 points as opposed to 1. And their hearts beat at around 25 to 30 beats per minute. And that's when they're standing up. So right now we can expect these Ellie's hearts to be beating at around 25 to 30 beats a minute. If they were on their sides, it's more common to see some of the younger elephants on their sides. So calves up to around, I suppose, adolescence. That is when their heart rate would then increase. Obviously, a lot of weight then is on that diaphragm. Of course, then internal organs and the rest also adding to that, perhaps putting pressure on that heart then too. Their heart rates do increase when they do lie down. Hi Leanne. So this is the case with these bulls over here. I don't think we would see them lying down. We would see them standing up because of what we just said, that increased heart rate when they are lying down. Obviously, big diaphragms and putting pressure on that heart if it was like that. So it would be pretty uncommon to find an adult elephant on its side. And they do then kind of prop themselves up against dead tree trunks or even trees, even boulders at times as well. You'll see them sleeping or resting like that too. But I have seen all the Ellies also on their sides, but I don't think probably the peak of their maturity. Probably just off, probably being adolescents, young bulls, more often than not. And then being on their sides in the bush. Of course, they do like to wade and waddle and play in water. Obviously, swim as well. So they're not uncommon to see an Ellie kind of on its side then either, but the pressure then would be off, being a bit buoyant in water. That would take the pressure off an Ellie's heart too. But fantastic just to sit here. Nice to watch Ellies. Always cool to talk about some of the other things that go on with them, how they're made and built, and of course how they've evolved as well. So the Ellies kind of taking it easy for the moment. Back to drinking, it seems. Seems to be that is what is on the cards for them right now. They did think about moving off, and then all three of them have come back. The zebra numbers also kind of dropping a little bit now. One or two Springbok that are here, and one lone Adam Stork. So some of those Cape Crows starting to get rather loud again. I'm sure they'll get very vocal at some point. It generally is the case at around midday into early afternoon. They really do start going rather haywire. A number of Springbok that have decided to kind of gather here on the northern side of the Okukuya waterhole, and these three Ellies content and enjoying as much of that fresh water as possible. A little bit of a rest here and there. I think with it getting rather warm again, possibly thinking of moving off into some of the thicker vegetation. We'll just have to wait and see. Perhaps a little bit of a spray going to happen right now. Who knows? Unscripted brilliance. Hi Aurelia. Very interesting observation, and we were chatting about desert adapted elephant earlier, and in the area a little bit further west from here there is one of Africa's last desert adapted elephant population, and of course with that being said they have obviously adapted over time to be able to kind of cope in areas with a lack of water, obviously then a little less water dependent than some of the other elephants. We did also touch base on the fact that there's one last remaining population of West African desert adapted elephant up in Mali. They are in a heavy conflict-ridden area, and we are hoping that that population is still around, alive, and obviously can hopefully then establish itself even further moving forward. And that other population being across in Eritrea, although numbers are a bit conflicted at the moment as well, also due to the conflict and that is found in the area. But those elephants then obviously do have adaptations that have allowed for them to tolerate more arid conditions. Of course also then needing to feed on a number of other interesting things. So their food intake would also then include a number of plant things or materials that would have a rather high water quantity within it. So things such as tubers, some of those melons and that are also available, and then also being able to kind of derive moisture at certain times of the day, but perhaps maybe focusing more on browsing and feeding in the early hours of the morning, obviously later on in the day when dew may be present as well. And we touch base on the fact that the desert adapted elephant make use of their pineal gland as an extra kind of measure with regards to water storage. So being able to store water in those pineal glands where needed, helping them get through an arid landscape. Of course, if you have just joined us and you do have any questions, or comments, or things you'd like to know, please do send those through. Of course, if you do want to be able to send through any questions or comments, any of your points of interest, you have to subscribe. And if you do wish to subscribe, you can either subscribe to the channel on YouTube or head over to the website and register, and you'll be able to get those points of interest or questions or anything else that you may wish to have sent through, as this is obviously a live and interactive experience. So please go have a look at our app on our website and then register to ask any questions, or let me know about anything else you may wish to see or chat about.
We hope that when you watch Wild Earth, you will fall in love with nature. We know that our explorers share a passion for nature and want to make a difference. Wild Earth Schools is back. Sign up to be an explorer and your subscription will help us reach the future conservationists of our planet. Invest in something that truly matters, encouraging children to care for our beautiful wild earth. Wild Earth Explorers, make a difference.
So lots of crow theatrics at the moment. Very imposing when we do hear them like that. Of course, the one Ellie kind of losing interest in splashing himself, but the other definitely in here. And this one with his legs crossed, I think just enjoying a quiet moment. Hi Xavier, and at the moment these Ellies are rather relaxed. They're not really exhibiting or showing any sign of irritation or non-tolerance to anything smaller than them, but they will definitely give them some healthy space, because when Ellies do decide to throw their weight around water holes, bad things can happen if you are far smaller than an elephant or willing to challenge. So sometimes it's best just to make sure there's enough of a space or gap between you and that alien question. But the Ellies that have been here today, very relaxed, pretty tolerable of everything that has been here. But you'll notice the dynamic. There will be animals that kind of give a very healthy kind of leeway to the Ellies, give off a lot of space for the Ellies to do whatever they wish to do and go about quietly with their business. So the two Ellies seem to be moving off. This last one still hanging about and waiting to see what really does happen with them, because the two of them had initially started to move off before coming back to join this third Ellie bull that has spent the majority of its time just here at the kind of freshwater pump. There's some gemsbok that are coming down to join them, and you'll see how the Ellies kind of navigate and use that well-worn animal path all the way down here, that game trail that will be used. So they're heading off into the thicket. We're waiting to see how long it may take for this last remaining bull to kind of get on his bike and head on off. There's Acacia Pied Barbet that's now calling here too. And of course, some springbok that have come down to join and waiting on that little herd of gemsbok. Be nice to have a good look at gemsbok for the day. They are very pretty and always good to see them in good numbers. So going to have to be a little bit patient here for those gemsbok. I might also hold off because, here we go. Ellie's kind of separated them there. And it looks like this Ellie bull going to join his two counterparts and kind of head off into the tree line. It looks like the gemsbok, as hoped, going to be here and going to be wading into the waterhole. And it was quite a big herd of gemsbok that we're about. So nice to have them here. Awesome to be able just to sit back and enjoy them, because we've enjoyed a lot of time with everyone else really here. And gemsbok are really such stars. So as hoped, the gemsbok did come through and join us. Those Ellie bulls starting to make their way away. And it's time for us to head on across to Nick and see what's going on in Kariega.
Okay, welcome back to Kariega, where we've managed to wangle our way down to some of the lower lying areas. So we're here on the banks of the Kariega River. And you can see the wind is still blowing, but it's a little bit more protected down here. Mostly more up in the open areas. The wind's a lot stronger there. So in terms of our exact position on the Kariega River, we've come further to the east of Scotia Dam. And there's definitely a few bends, S-bends and things like that in the river around this little section here. But nice to be able to come and show you a slightly different area here. So obviously we're looking for the different set of species and things down here. In terms of our little mammals, a Cape clawless otter is going to be right at the top of the list. I mean, that would be the jackpot. That would be the creme de la creme if we could potentially find one of those. But remember, they are very shy, very secretive little creatures. I have been lucky enough to see them a few times. Not here in the Kariega River, but in other areas. But I've chatted to some of the other guides, and when they've been moving through these areas, they have seen them a few times. Malachi, yeah, I'm glad that we could show you this Kariega River. It's the first time for you to see it. Happy days. And then in terms of some of the animals, just like we were saying, the Cape clawless otter would probably be one of the more special ones to be seeing. And then there is the chance of hippos as well. I have heard them snorting down in these areas a few times. Obviously now we're closer to the middle of the day. Yes, the water is going to be a lot cooler, but I'd expect hippos to maybe be in kind of an area where some of the trees and things lining the bank are overhanging, casting a little bit of a shadow, being a little bit cooler. Something like there, you can see it's, casting a small shadow. So I'd expect them to be kind of tucked up in the shade somewhere at the moment. And obviously with their skin being so sensitive to the sun, they'll be in the water today. I reckon it sounds funny, but if you've been out in wherever it is, in the bush, wherever, in the middle of the day and it's a very strong wind, there is, I reckon, such a thing as a windburn, It always sounds strange, but, even for us, we need to really lather the sunscreen on, otherwise at the end of the day after a strong wind, you look at your face and you pink like a prawn. So for those hippos, I highly doubt that they're going to be moving out and about now. And later on, when it does cool off, they'll come and move around and about, do a little bit of feeding. Remember, they are herbivores, so the Scotia clearings will be a really great place for them to do a bit of feeding. Even lining the banks of the river, there's going to be lots of areas that have some really nice green grass. If we go back to where we initially were, look at those grasses growing on the side there. That's perfect for a little hippo to be nibbling on. You can hear a cat turtle dove calling in one of the trees close by here. Yeah, and then obviously down here we can look for a different set of bird species and things as well compared to up closer to Scotia Dam. It's a lot thicker down here. So in terms of some of our birding rarities, African funfoot would be right at the top of the list, I'd say. Also quite a secretive little bird. Going to be sticking to also those, over areas where there's overhanging trees and things like that. Quite a shy bird, so it's not often that you would see it swimming right out in the open. It would kind of stick to the edges of the river, where there's a bit of vegetation, where there's a bit of cover. Not a very bold bird. I have seen one of them here in the Kariega River as well. And I was kind of making my way along and I saw it, and then it darted off pretty quickly. But remember, they've got those very bright feet, like an orangey, reddish type of coloured foot. very characteristic of the bird. And then also their beak. Their beak would be a sort of a similar color to their legs. So that very brightish orange color. I've never seen any finfoot goslings before, if goslings is the right word, little chicks, little chicklets. I'd absolutely love to see some of those. Remember, when they are small, they don't have that very bright beak. It's more of a dullish black, almost slightly bluish hue to it. And then obviously, I mean, in terms of other bird species that we could potentially look for, this will be a great area for kingfishers. There are plenty of fish in the river here, so giant kingfisher would be a really good one to look for. Pied kingfisher, which is the black and white one, could definitely keep an eye out for that as well. And also, if you look at sort of the brown-hooded kingfisher, yes, it may not be a sort of a fish hunting specialist, but these often denser areas surrounding the river is a very good place to look for them. You know, the name kingfisher can be a little bit off-putting, in the sense that not all of our kingfisher species are actually feeding on fish. You know, obviously our giant kingfisher and our pied kingfisher are fish hunting specialists. But a lot of the other kingfishers, they're actually eating insects, which is very, very interesting. You know, you look at your brown-hooded kingfisher, your striped kingfisher, they all really love to catch insects. And that's often why, if you look at a striped kingfisher, you find them often in more sort of open savanna types of areas, because they're not targeting fish. That's why you're not really going to find them down by river courses as often. Another special one is a half-collared kingfisher. I've only seen them a handful of times. Remember, they've got more of that, it's like an electric type of blue color compared to the malachite kingfisher, which you might also find down here. I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I have seen half-collared kingfisher. So if we had to see that, I think I'd probably lose my words in terms of what to say. But all very peaceful and quiet down here by the river. You know, got the breeze moving through here, rustling these reeds along the bank. That cat turtle has stopped calling now. But to me, it's always in these more sort of thicker, denser types of environments that you expect like a rarity of something to pop up. You know, whether it's a bird or an animal or whatever it might be, it's always to me the sort of the lesser explored areas where you feel like something's going to pop up, that this just has to be a good area. The last time I actually saw a Cape clawless otter, it was up in Wakkerstroom, more central areas of the country. I was doing a bit of birding up there, and I actually heard a strange noise, and I looked, and these two otters just popped up out of nowhere. But remember, in terms of those otters, they'll eat fish. Even if you look at something like a freshwater mussel, they'll crack those open. Remember, they do have those very sharp teeth as well, so they'll have no problem trying to pry that open. And we would find freshwater mussels here. You'll find freshwater crabs as well. So remember, this river, the Kariga River, is going to flow all the way down to the ocean. And obviously because of that, you know, you're able to get a wide variety of different species here. Obviously the closer we get, the further sort of south down this river we go, the closer we get to the ocean. And the more saline the water will become. And obviously becoming an estuary closer to the mouth there. And if you look at diversities of what, you know, the diversity of what estuaries create, it's like none other. It's a completely unique type of ecosystem. So remember, Kariga will have two different estuaries, one on the Kariga River where we are now, and then one on the Bushmans River, which is further to the west of where we are. So obviously your tide is going to rise and fall throughout the day, and that's going to bring different amounts of water, different volumes of water up into the river itself, different water depths. There's going to be a change in chemistry of the water. And then obviously with that rising and falling tide and that change in water depth, that's going to create a lot of sort of variability with sediments. You know, some sediments will settle down a lot more, then it's going to be picked up and moved around. So there's a lot of daily type of ecosystem. And if you think of how many reserves there are that have sort of estuaries on the reserve, not one estuary but two different estuaries. You look at the second one we talked about, the Bushmans River. So that is the second longest tidal river in the whole of South Africa, which is absolutely incredible. Jackie, that's a good question. So something like Scotia Dam, no, it's not going to be fed from the river. That's more going to be an accumulation from rainwater and things like that. But there will definitely be a number of small little tributaries that peel off of the main river itself and create those small little rivulets, if you want to call it that. But no, creating obviously those small tributaries, and from there you'll have your big trees overhanging it. You know, and that's going to create obviously a whole different type of environment in itself. There's going to be less change in terms of the water depth and the changes in terms of the chemistry of the water itself, you know, salinity levels and things like that. But I mean, both the Bushmans and the Kariga River will be more of a marine dominated type of system, you know, largely where salinity levels are going to be quite high. Because usually the mouth is open for both of the rivers going into the ocean. So if you look at the size of the Bushman River, you know, obviously we just mentioned that it's the second longest tidal river in South Africa. The longest, as far as I understand, I might have to double check, but as far as I understand, is the Breda River, which is obviously not too far away from where we are. But the Bushmans will flow in terms of from the sort of the start of it, flows for around 300 kilometers, which is obviously it's a very long river. The catchment, obviously, all of the areas from where it's gathering water, from where all of those smaller tributaries, you know, might join up with the Bushmans River itself. That's going to be slightly over 2,500 square kilometers, which is massive. It's huge. So if you look at the sort of the two different rivers, you compare them side by side. Obviously, like we said, they're both sort of saline dominant. They've got a high salinity level, marine dominant. You know, this is obviously going into quite a bit of detail now, but the Bushmans River further upstream has got slightly more agricultural dams and things like that, of where there might be water taken out of the system compared to the Kariga River. And obviously as a result of that, you've got less fresh water flowing down the system from those catchment areas to these southern areas, which is going to add to those higher salinity levels. So technically the Bushman's River should have a salinity level that's slightly higher than the Kariga River. But for now, let's take you across to Alex and see what he's got for us.
Thanks, Nick. And yes, we are here in the Sabi Sands at Djuma Gari Dam right now. And what had just escaped behind the bushes was a lovely waterbuck cow and her calf, a young little calf that we have been seeing of late. Sad that they have just moved off, although I'm pretty sure we probably stand in line to get one or two more glimpses of them. I'm going to try and keep a tab on where Dewey is. He was also about. Also just make sure that we don't miss out. They do come back out into the open here, but they've gone into a rather thick area and literally just behind here, but it's very possible that they would come back out again. Cicadas calling rather loudly at the moment, and an emerald spotted wood dove is also in the area. But what we're going to do is just have a little scan around. There is Dewey the hippo. We will spend some time with him if the waterbuck don't show themselves. So really just also keeping tabs on anything that might be on the other side of Gari Dam. If anything else has maybe decided to come down, enjoy a drink, perhaps even just pass through. So do just bear with me as we have a look to see if there's anything else going on here in this little clear area, or clear patch, if you want to call it that. Chagra also still calling off in the distance there. Lovely audio of that emerald spotted wood dove. A couple of Birchall starlings that are also around at the moment. It looks to be a little bit windy. Of course, some clouds still about. And the grass lovely and long at the moment. Such a contrast really from the dry season to now. Let us have a look back. Let's make sure we haven't missed out on any of the action with regards to Dewey, and see if he won't give us a little show. Oh, that squeak, or little squawk that you would have heard there, golden-tailed woodpecker that is around. Be lovely to see one of those too, but I don't think we have the best of chances right now. But let us shoot across. What we're going to do is sit down, enjoy Dewey, enjoy a moment with a rather happy hippo in the current conditions. Hi, Selena. It generally comes down to the time of the year, and obviously when it gets a lot drier in the winter months, and fires are a cause for concern. Also not uncommon, even at times like this, if there was a stray lightning bolt, for that to create a fire, although it probably wouldn't burn through as much, but it's generally the winter and drier months that we have our kind of peak fire warning. So that the time being when we have to be the most vigilant. So say from around May through until kind of the end of November, October, when the rains start to come through again. That is probably the worst time for there to be wildfires. I myself have also fought a fire in the area, and that was in the middle of January, and that was due to a lightning bolt that hit a house, and the entire house went up. And very unfortunately, someone lost very dear memories and the rest with that all going on. Very fortunately, we were able to get one of the last gas canisters away from the house, but one did go off with it. And that fire and that house was still really smoldering 2 days later. It also just goes to show you, kind of extent of what that is. So not uncommon for a stray bolt of lightning to perhaps cause a natural fire, even in the wetter months, but definitely the drier months being when the highest risk of fire, naturally occurring fire, then is in the areas. Of course, there's also a number of controlled burns and that do go on, a number of different strategies and fault management strategies that are undertaken and used season per season to kind of mitigate any damage that could be caused by a naturally occurring fire.
The state of our planet is now critical. Children are the future conservationists, and it is more important than ever that we reach them. By encouraging them to understand nature, love it, and interact with it, we hope that they will want to preserve it. At Wild Earth, we are now able to bring back our Wild Earth Schools program, thanks to our explorers. Thanks to you guys for helping to reach kids from all over the globe and teach them about nature. Wild Earth Explorers, make a difference.
So the water buckets seem to have moved off, and it's time for us just to sit back and enjoy some time with Dewey, listen to some of the other bird calls that are around here in the Lowveld. Always cool to pick up the different birds in the different locations. Very, very cool indeed. And we are across in Djuma at the moment while we escape to nature, and you are with myself, Alex. We've also been up in Etosha at Okakuyo Waterhole, down across in Medikwe with Cedric and Igor, and of course we were with Nick earlier on in Kariga too. So lots going on. We've had a lot of action today, lots of elephant in particular, and now a quiet moment with our happy hippo friend Dewey, just picking up any of the other bird vocalizations that are present here in Djuma at the moment. And we were hoping to get a glimpse of the waterbuck that we're about, that young calf and its mother. Of course, if you have joined us, this is a live and immersive experience. It is your journey into the African wilderness with us. So do let us know of any questions or comments, things you'd like to see, points of interest, things you wish to know. Always fantastic to connect with you guys and enjoy an immersion into the African wilderness. Hi, Chlorine. It's a interesting question, and I'm actually unsure as to how Dewey got his name. I do think it obviously stems through a number of viewers over the years, and I then passed them on that nickname. So, a firm fan favorite, and having derived his name from those who have been watching for quite some time. So a crested barbet that is calling now as well. So just some different bird life as well, just to kind of check off the list really. I'm hoping that this hippo does get a little more active for us. It would be lovely to see that. So otherwise, trying to listen to hear if anything else may be in the area for us as well. So those of you wishing and wanting to know how Dewey got his name, it is in fact because he has a double dewlap. So thanks to MC for letting me know. And yeah, the double dewlap is what has led Dewey to his nickname. So rather cool to know. And as I said, hopefully we will get some activity out of this hippo. It looks quite content to be resting up. Hi Shadley, thank you so much for your question. And exactly that, they do mate as well as also give birth within the water as well. But, that's for most of that mating process. So females then being kind of forcibly submerged into the water by those bull hippos. And the head then does pop up obviously so that she can breathe. Although sometimes not necessarily being able to get the longest of breaths, and also occasionally hippos then also mate on land. But hippos are also the only African mammal that will mate in the water. And of course, those being terrestrial as well mammals, these hippos do walk around and graze, not mammals such as dugongs or manatees or anything like that. So these being the kind of terrestrial mammals, or the only African terrestrial mammals that will then mate in the water. And that being pygmy hippos too. Pygmy hippos found up in the rainforests of Liberia. Max wanting to know from just down the road from me here, or down the offices, if elephants would mate in the water. No, not that I'm aware of. Elephants mating on land and not in the water. But hippo also give birth in the water too, and then being the only terrestrial mammals that would then do that in Africa as well. But not to say that hippos obviously can't mate on land or out of water. They will do that too. It's just a rarer strategy or a rarer occurrence. Got lots of Cape turtle doves also calling. And nice, as I said earlier, just to pick up and touch on the different bird calls and the choruses that we may pick up on different areas we are in at that given time. So I think probably time again for us just to have a little scan around, see if anyone else has come through to join us. If they've snuck on out and we've missed any of that. We're not going to be moving anywhere anytime soon, it seems. So just having a little scan around just to see if anyone else hasn't come through. Snuck on down towards Gari Dam. It doesn't seem that that was the case. Hoping to get a glance of the waterbill or the waterbuck calf. What wasn't to be. Dewey still quite happy to be doing Dewey things. Not wanting to move around too much either. And that kind of stupefying sound of the cicada as well. Probably enough to rattle your soul if you were sitting right on top of it. So always special to be able to sit here and enjoy some time with the hippos, or with one hippo at least, but it's time for us to check in again with Nick and see what's going on down in Kariega.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, still taking it easy down here by the river, by the Kariega River. And I have not seen any hippos like he's been seeing. But nonetheless, it's nice to just spend a little bit of time here. You know, water's always so refreshing. It's so nice to be next to. I must say, it's definitely heated up a lot. I mean, the wind is still around and about, but I would not say no to taking a sneaky little dip. In a pool would be better. But no, it is nice just to spend a little bit of time down here. So remember, on either side of the Kariega River, and especially behind me, there are some steep cliffs with a lot of those river euphorbia trees. There's a few rocky outcrops, and there's obviously a troop of Chapma baboon up there somewhere. I've been looking and looking to see if I could spot them, but they've been shouting, giving that characteristic alarm call of theirs. Wow! Wow! And it's kind of bouncing off all of the cliffs, echoing off. It's really nice. I'm hoping that while we are live, that they might give us another little exhibition of what their call sounds like. But remember, for those baboons, they'll find quite a lot of safety up there on those rocky outcrops and things like that. But they will also have to look around quite carefully. This is a very good habitat and environment for leopard to be moving around. The other day I did take a walk along the banks of the river here, and I found tracks of a big male leopard. It wasn't too old, it was probably about a day and a half old or so. So he'd been patrolling through the area here. Obviously it is very difficult to spot leopard here at Kariega with the Albany thicket biome being very dense. It's hard to kind of peer into a lot of the regions and get a good view. But down here, this is a perfect area for leopard to be moving around. You know, in terms of prey species, there'll be bushbuck that move around in the thickets here. There'll be nyalas. There's obviously those baboons. Joan, thanks for your question. In terms of fish species to be found here, yeah, it's plentiful. You can find lots of different fish. You can find cob, which is probably one of the main ones that we can look for here. Cob is going to be a good one. Yellowtail is probably another one that we could potentially start to look for. You'll get a lot of tilapia species as well. Remember, tilapia, quite a widespread type of fish as well. Stumpnose, we'll be able to find Cape stumpnose moving around this system here as well. And obviously once you start to get slightly closer to the actual estuary itself, we can definitely start to look for grunter. That'll be a good one. Different types of bream as well. River bream. Bronze bream possibly as well, right by the estuary. Just trying to think. I don't think you'll find any tiger fish here. But I mean, the fishing's really good. It's really quite varied. You know, right at the estuary, right at the mouth, you'll probably find other fish like blacktails, possibly even a few flatheads, Russell snapper, garrick. Oh, there's plenty of different fish. And remember, the whole estuary is a protected type of environment with all of the you know, the vegetation and things like that, and it really is a nursery ground for a lot of the different fish species as well. So there will be plenty of different fish that we can find here. Should ask our local kingfishers what they've been finding. You know, even things like herons in some of the slightly more shallow areas, I'm sure the herons will wade through. They can catch any fish. You know, your grey heron, your black-headed heron. Yeah, so it's very diverse. But that is it's a very good question, that. I mean, obviously, you know, we've talked about the mouth being open on both of the rivers. Obviously very well known that Zambezi's tiger sharks are able to deal, not tiger sharks, bull sharks, are able to deal with fresh water, whereas other sharks like your tigers and your great whites and things like that can't really deal with it as much. So it would be a rarity to see, but I mean, there is a possibility of things like Zambezi swimming up the river. But for now, let's take you back across to Okukuyo.
Thanks, Nick. And completely different scenes here across in Okukuyo from when we were here earlier. The Abm storks have taken over. Those elephants have moved off. And there's some retreating wildebeest zebra that were just here at the water's edge. A couple of springboks still around. I did just want to zoom back out just to see and note how many of these storks are around in the area. Does look like the number is swelling once again. How many they are still around remains to be seen. When they do start to move off also, it also remains to be seen. But fascinating that they still are here, and they've been here for so long now. Kind of feels like they're a constant fixture. There's that morning dove. A little bit closer in here. I'm sure we will have one or two other herbivores that decide to come and join us. Sounds like the odd guinea fowl as well, scooting about. But number of zebra and wildebeest tapering off. The odd springbok still scooting about, and just enjoying the Abm storks as they swell in number. Beginning of this afternoon, really.
Wildworth's mission is an expensive one, but we know that our live experience is important to so many people that cannot afford to pay for it. We have added a donate button to our website. By donating, you are directly helping us share our free nature experiences with the world. We want Wild Earth to reach children, budding conservationists, and the less fortunate. A little money goes a long way. You can make a difference to someone today.
So the Cape Crow's getting rather vocal, and we're waiting to see, it looks like some impala coming through, and waiting to see if some other zebra also make their way down. The stalk numbers, it kind of seems like we've reached capacity for the moment. That might change though. That's a pretty decent sized herd of impala coming down, and I'm pretty sure the zebra harem to join them from there. The springboks still picking their way through the stalks that are closest to us otherwise. Otherwise, most of the cloud cover kind of being burnt off by now. Hi Lacey, it does seem exactly like that. Perhaps getting into some afternoon croquet or whatever else they may think of or dream of in terms of activities, but it seems that there's definitely quite a bit going on in the stalk world. So it looks like the impala have made their way through that sea of stalks. And a number of those springbok also scattering them off a little bit. Of course, if you've only just joined and you missed out on any of the other awesome occurrences and best bits of today or any other show or day, then please do make sure you download our app and you will then be able to watch any of the highlights or shows and fills, as well as the best bits from each of the shows, including Escape to Nature. So do make sure that you do go across and download our app. Still waiting to see if some more of the zebra come down. It looks like it's just the impala for now. Springbok also deciding to scoot along. Looks like the impala pretty happy to just be here and rather relaxed as well. Definitely not intimidated by these storks. Hi Lloyd, thanks so much for your comments. I'm so glad that you enjoyed relaxing Escape to Nature. It really has been an awesome morning just to sit back and enjoy what's been going on. Really have had lots to immerse ourselves with. They're definitely kind of dying down. It's got rather quiet at the moment. Cape Crow's also deciding to hold off a little bit. So it's just the storks really. These black-faced impala also looking to move away from the waterhole now. But we have had a really awesome time. And particularly here with those 3 bull elephants. And Okakuyo, I mean. Lots of zebra activity. Lovely impalas, wildebeest, gemsbok and springbok too. Of course, nice to spend time with Dewey the hippo as well. And lovely to always see the different sights and scenes across in Kariga as well as in Madikwe. A fantastic escape to nature being had. Unfortunately, it is that time of the day where we do have to wrap up. Say thank you very much for tuning in and joining us. And of course, do stay tuned for every other little bit of action that will happen after this. And of course, tune in again and join us tomorrow as we escape to nature from 8:30 CAT tomorrow morning. I'm sure it will be a fantastic and busy Sunday for us to get out and do the thing. But do have a fantastic rest of Saturday after this, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.